Aloha! You're watching F5 On Demand. I'm Peter Silva, Technical Marketing Manager with F5, and we're here in Vegas at the MGM for IBM's Pulse 2012 show. We're in booth E404, so if you're at the show, stop by and see us. And I grabbed Brian Tully, a field systems engineer. He just finished his presentation over in, let's see where you were, Expo Theater 2, the next frontier on-demand virtual desktop services for cloud service providers. And there was a piece in there that was really interesting, and I thought it would be interesting to share with you a little bit of what Brian was talking about when it comes to VDI remote access with Verde and F5. So first, thanks for joining us, Brian.
Pleasure.
So walk us through this. I'll hold this for you, don't worry.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with Verde, it's a product from a company called Virtual Bridges, and they are the vendor of choice for IBM for VDI deployments from their customers. And they've come to us and asked us if we can provide a robust remote access solution for Verde. So we've been able to kind of put together a solution where we can leverage some of the feature functionality of the big IP to do just that. So looking over here, you can see a typical deployment scenario that's recommended by IBM and Virtual Bridges for remote access. As you can see, we have this gateway server component here where its sole purpose is to provide a proxy front end for the VDI environment. And really, if you look at this here, this gateway functionality runs on Windows and Linux servers. So we run into security concerns about having non-hardened devices in our DMZ. And also, to provide high availability in this tier, it's recommended to actually front end that with an ADC or a load balancer. So there's a great area where we could kind of come into and use some of our advanced functionality to provide a robust solution. So what we've done is we've basically had the ability to consolidate the gateway servers into the Verde cluster, which is what actually runs the VDI environment. And what we're saying is, why don't we just take that gateway functionality and run it from a big IP, right? So we have some consolidation there that we can do. And with the big IP being a hardened platform, it being an ICSA certified firewall, and it being a full proxy, TCP proxy, which I'm sure all you guys are aware of by now, you get some of these security benefits right off the bat, right? So these are things in the top up left-hand corner. So, looking at it from an availability perspective, what can we do, right? This is kind of the common load balancing stuff. We can do application scalability by balancing connections across this Verde gateway cluster environment. From a health check perspective, we've written custom health monitors to log into each server in the Verde cluster and basically determine whether or not the Verde server is configured properly by looking to see if it's actually sourcing actual VDI desktops. So some very intelligent health monitoring that we're doing there to determine if we should send connections to each server in the cluster. Now, thinking it from an optimization perspective and VDI in general, so those of you who know F5 know that we do a ton in caching compression, especially for web services, right? But can we apply that to VDI? Well, not really, right? It's very dynamic in nature. We're constantly drawing screens and changing the way content's being delivered to the client, so caching really isn't an option. And then from a compression perspective, many of the protocols that have been written to support VDI communications have already been written to take advantage of much of the compression techniques on the market today. So not something we can really do, but leveraging that full proxy architecture that we have, we can use TCP optimizations, right? So since we are that full TCP proxy, we have the ability to separate out the client-side traffic from our server-side traffic. And since we know that this is a remote access solution that we've developed here, we know that our clients are coming over to the internet, they're coming over a WAN link, something with higher latency, lower bandwidth, so we can use a TCP stack or profile that's optimized for those types of connections. While we can use a separate TCP stack on the back-end environment with the server environment, which is most likely on a LAN environment, so this is a stack that's optimized for very fast LAN type connectivity. And what we're doing is we're closing out the transactions real fast in the server back end, and then we're spoon feeding that data to our clients over the WAN links as fast as they can take them.
And then even all that traffic throughout it, we have the ability, because of the full proxy architecture, to inspect, manipulate, adjust as necessary.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now from a security perspective, and this is kind of where I think we have the most bang for your buck in the solution, we can do some interesting things. The first thing we want to talk about is how we can do proxy authentication in the DMZ. So here we are authenticating our users at the DMZ before they even hit your back-end Verde VDI environment, right? So unless they're known good users that never even get into your network, we're shutting them down right at the front door, right? And if our users are actually authenticated and validated as good, once we allow them into our VDI environment, we're going to single sign on them in the back end, right? So they're not going to be presented with a login page for us and a login page for their VDI Verde environment. It's all done pretty seamlessly.
For things like user experience, productivity, help desk calls, all those reasons.
Absolutely, yep.
I liked how that logon bounced off the dude. That was pretty cool.
And then from our second security attribute that we really add here is we can wrap this whole layer of encryption around all the Verde traffic, whether it's their portal traffic or whether it's the VDI remote desktop traffic. So by leveraging the SSL encryption card here, we can wrap that all in TLS. We can control the ciphers so that we can ensure very strong encryption for federal customers or customers who have FIPS requirements. We have platforms that are FIPS compatible. So again, this is very important for making sure that none of our traffic or user data is being intercepted by bad guys trying to do bad things, right?
So also there's the DTLS functionality on the Big IP Edge Gateway. Does that add any performance optimization over and above the regular SSL tunnel?
Sure, yeah. I mean, if TCP is not something we want to use, we have a UDP option using DTLS. So yeah, it's all about depends on the individual project. But sure, we can do that. From a third perspective here, we have a geolocation enforcement client system interrogation. So this is where we can start to collect information about who our user is, what their client system looks like. So in the first step, we've got this picture of who our user is based off of their authentication credentials and bouncing their information off our directory services. But with this step, we're actually grabbing information about what client they're using. So we've got these two pieces of information to make very informed decisions on whether or not we want to allow them access into our VDI environment. So some of the things we can do, we highlighted in this demo, was we can figure out where the user is coming from. So if we know all of our users should be coming from North America, and we're receiving requests from China, from Russia, or anywhere else in the world that we shouldn't be seeing requests from, we can shut them down right at the front door. And for this particular project, a big customer is the federal government in conjunction with virtual bridges. So we can also support authentication methods looking for smart cards, right? So we can do that as well. And then we can also pull information about what type of client system we're running, operating system, whether it's Windows, Linux, Mac, etc. And then also, if it's Windows, maybe we want to enforce that, hey, they're running an antivirus program, firewall, what's their patch level, things of that nature to really get granular data to decide whether or not we're going to allow this user into our VDI environment.
Pretty interesting stuff. Wow, and then even like we talk about most of our solutions, even multiple data centers, not a problem. Put the GTM in front. The user might be going to this particular Verde data center for whatever reason, issues have there, swing them over to the other one, no problem.
Actually, that's in the works as we speak. So.
Pretty cool stuff, Brian, thanks. Great job, by the way. So I grabbed Brian right off the stage and said, come on, we got to go shoot a video. And he was a little surprised by that, but I think he did a great job. So thanks for joining us, Brian. So there you have it. The F5 VDI, I should say, remote access solution with F5 and Verde. So for Brian, I'm Peter, and Charlie, my camera guy this week. Thanks for watching. We're with F5 Networks.